What up, blockchain nation? Thanks for taking time to watch this. So today we're going to talk about the eNaira. So the eNaira is a central bank digital currency issued by the Nigerian central bank. So before we go into the eNaira, I just want to take a quick overview of central bank digital currency. So what a central bank digital currency is, it's a digital currency issued by a central bank. Well, makes simple and straightforward. But the question that people might ask is that how is this even different from current currencies that's issued by countries or by nation states? Because as is, you have money that's more or less digital. Not too many people transact with cash. So in a way, already our money is digital. So the argument is that the underlying infrastructure behind these CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, is the same underlying technology that drives cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's the argument. So let's just take a quick look. But before we get into that, let's look at something that is, I find very fascinating. I realized that if you look at this chart or this paper by on Wikipedia about legality of Bitcoin country by country, I realized that most countries that ban Bitcoin end up creating these central bank digital currencies. They see Bitcoin as a threat, but they see the power of Bitcoin. They're trying to adopt the same in their own countries. And I think the argument is, or the reason why they're trying to do this is because Bitcoin is decentralized and Bitcoin is open, but they rather have some kind of control. So as you can see, it's legal in the European Union, which is interesting. So the European Central Bank has decided that Bitcoin is legal. However, they are creating there's a rumor that they're creating a central bank's digital currency for the European Central Bank. I hope I said that correctly. What is interesting here is Nigeria. As you can see, it's legal, arguably, but bank can't touch Bitcoin. So the same thing in a lot of countries like Canada. Same thing is legal, and there is a banking ban on Canada, so which means banks can't touch it. The United States is legal, and other places, El Salvador is 100% legal. Something to take a quick look at, Venezuela is legal. And then something I just wanted to check real quick is if you look at China, Nepal is totally illegal. In China, it is legal. China has released its own central bank digital currency. I'll put a link up here. You can watch that video that I did about China CBDC a while ago. Interesting enough, it's legal in Japan. And one thing I find interesting is it's actually legal in Singapore, but Singapore is also creating their digital currency. I'll show you that real quick. So if you look at this article by Accenture, it talks about enabling cross-border payments from bank to bank. And so there is a project that was done whereby there are two. So the Bank of Canada, and Canada is creating their own central bank digital currency, and they say that Bitcoin is legal. And the Monetary Authority of Singapore, even though Bitcoin is legal in Singapore, they have an experiment whereby they are doing cross-border payments and they can settle. And the online infrastructure, you can read through this article, is two tech stacks, which is R3 and another blockchain framework that they're using to enable settlements, which I think found very, very fascinating. You can read more about that. The project is called Jasper. Ubin is a milestone cross-border payment using blockchain. So let's go to the eNaira, and which is the reason why you are here. So the argument is that we want to be able to do cross-border payments, and I think from a wholesale level that makes sense. That okay, countries want to interact and don't have to go through the United States dollar, and so they're looking for a platform or a way where they can transfer value without having to go through a third party or through an intermediary currency like the dollar, which makes sense from a high-level perspective. So at a wholesale level, yes, it makes sense that banks have a digital currency. But let's get into that. So let's look at the eNaira. eNaira is proposing easier financial transactions. You can download the app. I've tried, but as of time I'm recording this video, the app is not available. It's supposed to be available in the Play Store and Apple Store. It's currently not available now at the time I'm recording this. But let us go into the details. So the argument is growth. eNaira fosters economic growth by offering easier access to capital and financial services, thereby increasing economic activities at low interest and transaction rates. Remittances. Well, this means that allows for financial inclusion. They reduce the barriers for financial inclusion, because in commercial banks in Nigeria, there are some certain things that you must have in place for you to open an account, whether it's a driver's license, whether it's a national identity number, which I think most people have. So I'm not sure what the barrier might be, unless I'm reading this wrong. The other thing is remittances, which is what I talked about earlier when I mentioned how Singapore and the Bank of Canada are doing and enabling cross-border payments. So the eNaira provides a secure and cheaper diaspora remittance option. This is good. good in terms of a lot of people, myself included, live overseas trying to send money back home to Nigeria. Most people suffer the expense of using Western Union. Well, I don't have to go through that because fortunately I have friends who have bank accounts in the United States, so I can just credit them and then they can send me the Naira equivalent. But most people, well, vast majority of people won't be able to do that, and so they have to use other means like Western Union. Same thing with people who live in El Salvador, in Mexico, and other parts of the world, that they have to send almost 30% of their income in terms of when you look at fees and other added costs. So that's a huge one. Remittance. Okay, monitoring. eNaira's traceability limits is used for illicit or fraudulent purposes. So what this just means is that the eNaira, which will be issued by the Nigerian Central Bank, will have a ledger. So really, that's what a bank is. A bank is an intermediary that allows two bodies to interact, and they are kind of like a bridge in between. Banks were developed back in the days when people want to do trade. So let's say back in the 1700s, when people were doing trade, they were using gold. And so as opposed to carrying big amounts of gold everywhere, what they would do is that the banks would keep that gold and they would issue paper notes to the traders. And so when a trader wants to buy or sell goods, as opposed to transferring gold, all they would just do is they would exchange the paper notes, which was just a receipt for the ownership of that gold, and that person could go back to the bank. So banks were just custodians, keeping that. That's what a bank really was. They've become other things today. Anyway, so traceability of illicit or fraud purposes, which is interesting. So that means you can see all the transactions of the eNaira on the CBN's central bank's ledger, and they can actually see how people are transacting, which is, I don't know if that's a great thing. Welfare enables effective equity and faster distribution. Are willing to go through everything. Okay, this is inclusion by making financial services available to people or communities who do not have enough banking opportunities. So inclusion is what I was referring to when I said that, allowing everybody to reducing the barriers of entry, saying that all you just need to have is a cell phone and you can have an eNaira account, which is a barrier exchange for regular banking services. Anyway, so let's just look at this white paper. So the interesting piece for me is, how does this work? Because ultimately all a bank is in a currency is a ledger. So a central bank issues a currency and they make it available to their commercial banks and they make it available to the public. The banks also have a mandate or also have the ability, at least in the United States, to do something called fractional reserve lending, which means they can reserve or they can borrow out a certain number or a certain fraction of what they have in their deposits, which is what allows money to be in circulation. So all this money that's printed also and that's in circulation has to be accounted for in some ledger. So what this eNaira is a new ledger, in my opinion. So it's a new ledger, but the question is, how would the ledger work? Yes, it is digital. Yes, we are moving away from printing Naira notes. But the question is, what is going to be the cap? What is the economics behind it? Can we like in where was it that they put in Zimbabwe, where their money became like toilet paper because they were printing so much of it? Are there going to be those controls in place? So all I see in this, well, not all, I'm still looking through it. It says distributed ledger technology has emerged as one of the transformational technologies of the last decade. So what the eNaira is doing, underneath it, I saw this somewhere, they talked about the tech stack that they're using to build it, and I know they're using Hyperledger Fabric. I'll put a link here below about a video I did about that. And so I know, here we go, the Hyperledger Fabric variant of the DLT has been adopted to use of its inhabits the above requirements. The Hyperledger Fabric is an open source enterprise grade permission this DLT platform designed for use in enterprise context and accommodates the underlying requirements highlighted below. So the Hyperledger Fabric is a framework that you can use for building blockchain applications that are private. DLT, Hyperledger infrastructure, with central bank will also able to effectively support and manage your wallet while financial institutions and other regulated marketplaces act as nodes on the network. Here, this is the interesting part. So the CBN will be effectively support and manage the wallet, while financial institutions and other regulated marketplaces will act as nodes on the network to provide transaction processing, confirmation, record immutability, and most importantly, distribute the eNaira to users. So how a blockchain platform works, let's say like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a distributed platform where anybody can participate and anybody can be a node. But now with Hyperledger Fabric or some private networks, they like their concept of blockchain technology, but we need to have validator nodes. So what the CBN is proposing is they have built their framework on Hyperledger Fabric, and then each bank will have its own server or its own node so they can validate transactions on that network, which is very, very interesting. But what I still would love to see is to understand how the model will be, What will be the cap? Will there be a cap? Can they print money? Because I think that's really the biggest challenge that we have with current financial systems or current currencies. The Federal Reserve Bank in the United States arguably is one of the largest central banks in the world. But the United States dollar is, Scientists has the advantage that most crude oil is priced in petrol, hence the word petrodollar. So which gives the United States an advantage because everybody buys crude oil. But the way that the central bank in Nigeria, America, is currently printing money in the United States dollar is leading to inflation. So the problem with currencies as a whole is the fact that it doesn't have a scarce concept like Bitcoin, where there only ever will be 21 million Bitcoins. With gold is also a scarce commodity that it takes time to refine, and you have to work, or you have to do some kind of work to get gold. But with current fiat currencies, it's just been printed. It's just a ledger where people can just put a figure on it and increase the value. So with the eNaira, or generally any central bank digital currency, great idea. I like the idea from a wholesale level and eliminating the bridge for remittances. But the question now will be, are we going to take this? Are we going to make sure there won't be inflation by overprinting the dollar or by overprinting the eNaira, whatever the currency is? I think it's an interesting innovation. I'd just like to see how this is going to play out. I would like to see what the implications are. We're going to be watching what's going on in Nigeria, what's going on in China with their CBDC, and even with the European Central Bank and the Bank of Canada that are all doing these projects of creating their own central bank digital currency that will provide wholesale interaction in terms of cross-border payments. Then there's the retail piece where people like you and I can interact and we can use it to buy goods and services. That is the piece whereby each bank that's implementing a CBDC, in my opinion, should look at how they're going to curb inflation and decide, are we going to have a cap? What is going to be the method for increasing the value or the number of eNaira that is in circulation? I know they're using Hyperledger Fabric for the eNaira and they have validator nodes, but the mining for the eNaira, what does that look like? That's a piece that I think that we should take a look at, in my opinion. And last thing I'll say about this is CBDCs are great, but I would love if a lot of countries adopt the El Salvador approach and just make Bitcoin legal. Bitcoin is decentralized, it's borderless, it's permissionless, it has a cap of 21 million. You can trade between any currency to anyone, anywhere around the world, between your local currency, Bitcoin, and whatever currency without having to go through a dollar or any other fiat currency, which I think is very, very powerful. But let's see how this plays out. Anyway, so till next time, my wish for you is that you learn more about cryptocurrencies, because crypto is changing and will change the world. And those who get involved early, in my personal opinion, will greatly impact the future. And if that's you, let's go change the world.
If you would like to create more awareness for your brand or content, or you would like to earn additional income, register now on www.cliquey.com. The more you share, the more you earn. Cliquey.